Hey guys, and welcome to Ray's Fanfics channel. My name is Son Goku, and we are here to celebrate Ray's first year anniversary on YouTube. To celebrate this special day for the boss, we decided to do something different on the channel. Ray's has worked very hard, and even to a greater extent, even lost motivation after creating the fourth part of What If I Was in One Punch Man movie 2. For anyone new to the channel, nice to see you here with us. Ray's post anime, what if videos either never heard before or reboot into a clearer audio. I present to you all, what if Deku was a villain? You said I could never be a hero, Kacchan. Well, you were right, so I became a villain instead. Deku is the name of a villain. This is his story. Read and review, please. The link to xxDinoCupcakezxx's profile will be in the link down below. If you like this video and want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe to see more anime, what if stories.
Izuku Midoriya woke up feeling drained. He sat up slowly and rubbed the sleep from his eyes.
Izuku? Are you awake, sweetie? Came his mother's voice. Yes, Mama, I'll be out in a minute.
Izuku spoke. He heard her footsteps walk away. He stood, put on his clothes for today and went to brush his teeth and wash his face, not bothering to attempt with his hair, and walked to the kitchen. Pancakes and a glass of juice was waiting for him. He ate in silence and Inko stared at her son in sadness. Oh, how she wished she could help him.
Are you ready for school?
She asked gently. Izuku shallowly nodded his head. Inko grabbed her keys and purse and handed Izuku his school bag, and they left the house. Izu clutched his mom's hand as they headed down the sidewalk and to the school. Izuku wasn't looking forward to class. Yesterday his dreams were crushed, his future yanked from his 4-year-old hands before he could even fully grasp it.
Sorry, kid. It's not gonna happen.
Looking at the evidence, it's obvious that you won't develop a quirk. Izuku looked up at the school and then to his mom. She kneeled down and hugged him tightly.
Have a great day, my baby. I'll be here when you get out, okay? Inko spoke. He nodded. I love you, Izuku. I love you too, Mama.
What your quirk, Midoriya-kun?
A child asked. Izuku sat silently before whining when Bakugo roughly put his arm on Izuku's head and leaned on him. He doesn't have one. The loser doesn't have a quirk at all. He's a useless, quirkless dork. Ha 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 ha. Bakugo roared and everyone laughed. Izuku bit his lip.
This was why he didn't want to go to school today.
Hey Izuku.
The quirkless wonder. Someone yelled. Izuku snatched his lunch and ran to the roof, where he always ate. He wouldn't be bothered up here and he could enjoy his hour of silence. Izuku wiped away his tears as he ate his rice. He sniffled. After a while, he pulled out his All Might figurine.
I wonder if I could ever be a good hero like you. Izuku whispered. Poor child. Poor, sweet, innocent child. Izuku whipped back but saw no one. His heart rate picked up a speed or two. Don't you wish they could just leave you alone? It's not your fault you're quirkless. Who's there? Izuku asked.
No one answered after that. Izuku held his All Might figurine.
All Might give me strength.
Show yourself.
Izuku yelled, the only sound being the wind whisking around him.
Reending, Izuku rushed down the stairs and sat in his seat. He looked around.
It wasn't a voice I recognized. Who was that I heard? Hey Deku.
Bakugo yelled, slapping his hand on the table. Izuku jumped at the noise and looked up at the explosive blonde.
What do you want, Kacchan? He asked. What are you gonna do since you're a quirkless loser?
He yelled, a few laughing at his mockery.
Well, it doesn't matter if I have a quirk or not. I'll still be a great hero. Izuku said proudly. Bakugo laughed harder. Yeah, right. Like the #1 All Might. Bakugo said and snatched the figurine from Izuku's fingers. Hey. Give it back, Kacchan. Izuku yelled, standing to grab it, but Bakugo extended his hand just out of Izuku's reach. Don't make me laugh. You'll never be anything like All Might. Bakugo yelled. Kacchan. Izuku yelled. You'll never be like any hero. No damn way. You'll just be stuck a quirkless loser your whole life. Bakugo yelled as he ripped the head off the figurine and it dropped to the floor. Had enough and shoved Bakugo back.
the blonde fell to the ground and scratched his arm on a kid's sharpened arm. The blonde yelped in pain and held his arm as blood peed from the wound. Ah! Blood! Get a teacher quickly. Bakugo, are you okay? I am sorry my quirk cut you. Are you okay? While the kids around them fluttered with panic, Izuku couldn't help but feel pride in himself. He finally got one on Kacchan. He finally did something to hurt him like he always did him. Izuku smiled and picked up his All Might figurine. Deku, you asshole. You'll pay for that. Bakugo yelled, blood trickling from between his fingers and pitter-pattering onto the tile flooring. Izuku smiled at the blood. It Kacchan's. What's going on in here? A teacher rushed in and sent Izuku to the principal and Bakugo to the nurse. Izuku wasn't really listening to the principal talk to his mom about what happened. He couldn't stop thinking of the pained look on Bakugo's face, how satisfying it felt to finally back. Yes. Doesn't it feel good? Izuku whipped his head around the room, that voice again. You finally got the bully back for hurting you, doesn't it feel good? Isn't very hero-like of him. Izuku looked at the principal in shock. What? Inko jumped at her son's exclamation. Kacchan was being mean to me. Calling me names and took my things from me. Izuku yelled and showed up the headless All Might figurine. We understand that young Midoriya, but Bakugo was still seriously injured when you shoved him. The correct thing would have been to alert your teacher. The principal spoke firmly. But I agree with your principal, Izuku. I know you didn't mean to hurt him, but talking to your teacher would have been better, and it'd only be Bakugo getting lectured, not you. Inko, and she gently ruffled Izuku's hair. We understand it was an accident, so you'll only be getting a detention today. That is all, thank you. That day Bakugo got a scar on his left forearm. It was faint but still able to see and feel. It made Bakugo hate the boy even more and continued to tease and bully him relentlessly in middle school. Bakugo told Izuku he should just swan dive off the roof as he left the room with a dark laugh. Izuku wondered what would his Kacchan do if he actually did. Be guilty? Would he be happy? Izuku didn't fully know. Why not make him take the swan dive him? The voice, Izuku has grown accustomed to the voice in his head by now. He has since he was 4, the voice telling him dark and twisted ideas on what to do to his friends and many things. However, the man always suggested something before going silent. I can give you the power to be whatever you desire to be, just join me. Never gonna happen. Izuku mentioned gently as he walked down the halls and out the door, his tired eyes scanning the skies. He had eye bags for days. But imagine of what you could do. Izuku figured out around age 6 that the voice was one of a villain. A strong one. He never mentioned a name or his quirk, but Izuku figured it was a telepathic quirk of some, so even if he was quirkless, he did kept information of many heroes and villains alike. From their name to their blood type, Izuku didn't know where his infatuation for blood came, how the blue blood turns red when meeting oxygen, how it glides so smoothly down the skin, the beautiful red color it produced, and even how it tasted. It was such a wonderful he eventually named the villain in his mind Akuyaku, which meant villain. What do you want, Akukuen? Izuku wondered, ignoring the glances from his classmates. Why continue on this track when I could give you a purpose and the power you oh so desperately desire? I don't need your power. Deku! Izuku fell to the ground in a painful thud, but Bakugo had his foot out from where he kicked the green-haired teen. What is it now, Kacchan? Izuku asked, holding his bleeding nose, smiling behind his hand when the copper taste coated his lips. You think you can just ignore me and walk away? Bakugo yelled. Please just leave me alone. Izuku spoke, trying to reason with the explosive blonde, but it never worked out. The scars on his body proving just how violent Bakugo can get, Izuku still cared for him even though he's put him through hell since childhood is beyond him. Bakugo's quirk is so powerful, he's almost mastered it since they were kids, and the greenette has lost count at how many times that power has been used on him. He knew deep down that Bakugo was kind, but he never let it show, ever. No way, you damn nerd. I also heard you applied for UA. Bakugo yelled angrily. You expect to be accepted to a hero school when you don't even have a quirk. They won't even let you in. One of Bakugo's friends said, smirking. They got rid of that rule. I could be the first. Izuku gasped when Bakugo slammed his foot on his chest, knocking the wind clear from his lungs. Listen up, Deku, you're even worse than these losers, you damn quirkless wannabe. You think they'd let someone like you in when they have me? He yelled. Izuku was gasping breath when he grabbed Bakugo's ankle. I've wanted to be a hero since we were kids, Kacchan. I may not have a Q quirk, but that doesn't mean I can't try my hardest and dash. And do what? You don't have it all what it takes to hang with the best of the best. You'd easily die in the entrance exams. Bakugo yelled and pressed down harder. Izuku tried to push his foot away, but he wasn't strong enough. Defenseless Izuku, you want to embarrass yourself and the school by failing so hard? Bakugo yelled. If you had my power, you could easily stop him. Shut up. Come to me, Izuku Midoriya, let me give you the power you rightfully deserve. I said shut up. Bakugo would never hurt you again. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Ha! Izuku grabbed Bakugo's ankle and used his knee to hit the blonde's other leg. He gasped as he caved to the ground and Izuku scraped his feet and ran away. Get back here. Izuku hid in an alleyway as he tried to catch his breath. He could hear the footsteps coming and ran further down the alley and crashed into something sticky and smelly. What? Ah, a perfect vessel. Izuku was engulfed. He couldn't breathe, couldn't see. He struggled against the villain and tried desperately to get free, but he couldn't. He was trapped. Am I going to die here? If you had my power, you could have defeated this villain before he could even touch you. Oh, how tempting that offer was right now. He wanted to be free. He wanted to get away from here. Help! Help someone! Anyone! Izuku cried and begged, but no one came. Except me. I do dash Izuku? No. Izuku. No, no, no. You let go of my baby right now. Inko Midoriya yelled. Tears forming in her eyes, she held out her hands to try to pull Izuku to her. Ah, someone with a quirk. The villain screeched and threw Izuku to the side and quickly rushed to Inko and quickly engulfed the small woman. Izuku cried out when he was slammed into the trash cans, the metal crunching loudly as he struggled to his feet. No! MOM! Izuku ran and tried to rip the monster away from his mother. He was panicking, his heart racing over time, and struggled to free her. The sludge slipped through as he couldn't reach her and she was starting to pale. If you would have joined me, then you could have saved her. I accept. Damn it, now give me halt villainous scum. The sludge monster and Izuku looked to the entrance of the alleyway where a hero stood with his hands on his hips. Izuku recognized the young hero. He was new to the hero. Izuku didn't know much about him besides his hero name. Okinokun. His name literally means big fist in Japanese. You're lucky I showed up in time. The villain could have gotten you. Stop aside, child, while I defeat him. The hero said, pulling Izuku out of the way. No. Stop. I'm not Dash. In danger no longer. I know. The hero's fists grew and he smacked the villain to the ground in a loud, cringe-worthy smack. Stop. What are you doing? My MOM is in there. Izuku yelled. The hero gasped and withdrew his hands. The sludge villain groaned in agony of the awful smack to the pavement of the alleyway, and Izuku gasped in horror looking at his mother. MOM. No. That's enough. In a flash, Izuku and Okinokun were on the sidewalk and the sludge was gone and a tall figure stood in the alleyway. I wish I could have been here sooner. Izuku knew that voice anywhere. Well, look who it is. All Might. Izuku gasped. The hero turned and held little Inko in his arms. He dropped to a knee and Izuku rushed to her, tears rolling down his cheeks. I am sorry, young man. All Might spoke. He gently cupped Izuku's shoulder. No. No. Not my mom. She can't be. She can't be. Izuku cried into his mother's chest, his tears falling on her bloodied chest. You. Izuku whipped back and glared at the new hero. You crushed her. Izuku yelled.
I didn't know she was there," he yelled, his face paling. "You didn't even give me a chance to tell you. You didn't access the situation, you didn't make sure everyone was safe before you attacked. She is dead, it could be your fault. You killed my mother." Izuku yelled, his body and eyes fueling with anger. He saw red. The hero looked like he was about to pass out. They didn't know the crowd was starting to grow, but All Might did. He signaled the paramedics to come closer. He gently placed Inko on the stretcher and held Izuku's shoulder again. "Go to the hospital, young man. I'll handle everything from here. Believe me." All Might spoke. The hero cowered at the number one hero staring at him. Izuku glared at the man into the ambulance and held his mother's cold hand. One of the medics closed the door while Izuku started to cry again. He looked at his mother and gently brought her eyelids to a close. She was pale and looked so peaceful. "I swear, mother, I'll avenge you. I'll destroy the blasted hero who did this to you," Izuku growled. "Yes, come to me, my child, I'll be waiting for you." The ambulance's sirens roared to life again as it rushed down the street. Bakugo stomped down the sidewalk, cursing under his breath as he kicked a rock. "Where is that damn Deku hiding?" Fucking dash! Bakugo stopped when he saw an ambulance rush down the road, a few pro heroes running past him towards a huge crowd. What happened? He heard someone yell. Some green-haired kid got attacked. An ambulance with sirens and lights flashing. Pro heroes everywhere. A green-haired boy was attacked. Deku. Bakugo ran towards the crowd, pushing through the crowds to the front and gasped at the scene before him. There stood All Might in a blood-filled alleyway. He was in civilian clothes, but Bakugo could see the blood staining his white shirt. A hero Bakugo didn't recognize was on his KN before the number one hero, crying his eyes out. His wails made Bakugo shiver. What happened? Bakugo asked a nearby pro. It was Mta lady. Her pink eyes looked over to him sadly. A young boy and his mother were attacked here, a sludge villain. All Might captured the villain before we arrived, however I'm not sure what happened before we arrived. I got here shortly after All Might. Apparently the newbie tried to save the kid but failed to realize the mother was even there. One of them got seriously injured and was rushed to the hospital. All Might is talking to the police and the newbie now. Kamui Woods said. Who got hurt? Bakugo asked. I believe it was the mom. Mta lady spoke sadly. Bakugo stood shocked, staring at the scene before him as he tried to process the info. A kid and his mom? Deku and Mrs. Midoriya were injured? The police were walking with the new hero in their grasp. He looked like a disaster as he passed the crowd. All Might walked towards them. Bakugo reached for the man. All Might, what happened? Bakugo asked. Why, young man, the new hero did not fully access the situation. His plan did not go as he wished. Sadly, the innocent were hurt. A terrible rookie mistake, but never fear. For I captured the villain. We rushed the injured to the hospital. All Might spoke proudly, but Bakugo stared at the man. I'm pretty sure that was someone I know and his mom. Bakugo spoke. He saw All Might twitch. How bad is injured? Bakugo asked. All Might didn't answer at first. He dropped to a knee and cupped Bakugo's shoulder. Young man, the boy was fine besides a minor injuries, but his mother, however. All Might tightened his grip. She didn't. Bakugo gasped and took a step back. Inko Midoriya was rushed into emergency care. Everyone trying to revive her in any way possible. Izuku was checked on and only made out with a broken rib and a few scrapes, bruises. He sat in the chair next to Inko's room, waiting to hear any news about his mom. The finest doctors and best pro-medical heroes were in that room, trying everything in their power to save the woman. Izuku stared at his empty lap. Hey, young man. Izuku looked up and saw All Might heading his way. He jumped to greet him but regretted the pain in his ribs. He fell back into his seat with a hiss. I apologize. I do not mean to startle you, young Midoriya. All Might said. The man was almost bowing since muscular figure was too tall for the hallway. He kneeled next to Isaac. I brought you your bag, he said, holding out his backpack. Oh. Thank you, All Might. Izuku whispered. He set the bag next to him. No problem. I wanted to see how you and your mom are doing. He spoke. Izuku stared at his lap sadly. They're working on her now. He spoke quietly. I pray she'll be alright. She's all I have. Izuku cried, tears rolling down his cheeks. All Might frowned. He held back a cough and cursed under his breath. He pulled out a card from his pocket and scribbled his number on the card. Young man, I know how it is to go through something painful like this. Trust me, it's difficult to deal with this alone. This is for you, if you need anything. All Might handed Izuku phone number. Izuku stared at the number, then to All Might's retreating figure. Awfully fast for a pro hero to leave when a child is in need. I'm 16 years old, I'm not a child. Izuku Midoriya? Izuku looked to the doctor. The man's expression was full of grief. Izuku stood to his feet. I'm sorry son, not but your mother. Izuku gasped, the rest of the doctor's words fading to a fuzz. Izuku rushed into the room, rushing to his mom's side. He clutched her cold hand before crying into her bloodied "Che, we'll give you time." The doctor spoke and everyone filed out. Izuku cried for what seemed like hours for what had only been 5 minutes. He sniffled as he drew back. He wiped eyes. I haven't cried this much since Dad went missing. Izuku whispered to himself. The doctor knocked before entering and gently pulled the sheet over the small woman, and Izuku ran out the room. It was the last anyone ever saw him. Izuku returned home to pack his things and a single picture of him and his mother. I'll avenge you, Mom. I'll destroy the disgrace that killed you. Come to me, Izuku Midoriya. Show me the way. Izuku turned when he heard an ominous noise. A black portal appeared in his room. Izuku took a deep breath, squared his shoulders and walked to the portal before taking a step. Where am I? Izuku wondered. He was outside a building he didn't recognize. He saw the stairs leading to a doorway. Izuku saw light coming through the small window and he went towards it before entering the building. The hallway he was in smelled absolutely awful, like decay and smoke. Izuku covered his nose and mouth and he walked further down the hallway, his steps echoing as he came opening. It opened to a bar, a small room but looked nice despite the wretched smell. Welcome, Izuku Midoriya. Izuku looked at the man who spoke. He had a warped quirk that covered his face and hands. His suit was clean with not a thing out of place. He was polishing cups as he looked with narrow yellow eyes. So this is the one Master has spoken to. Izuku turned his attention to the man on the couch. He rose to feet and turned to him. His blue-gray hair was a rat's nest. He put Izuku's messy mane to shame. A single hand covering his face, and Izuku winced at the scratching sounds when the man peeled his the intensity of his nails. A single red eye met Izuku's. The green-haired boy gulped. Welcome, Izuku. The man spoke. Izuku could tell the man was smirking behind the mask, his eye crinkling from the intensity of it. Who are you? Izuku asked, cursing his stutter. I am Tamura Shigaraki. Your new friend. He said, extending his hands out. New friend? Izuku asked. I am Kirojiri. We've heard a great deal about you, Mr. Midoriya. Kirojiri spoke. Yes, Master has talked about you a lot. Shigaraki said. Izuku wasn't sure what to say. What brought you here? Kirojiri asked. I want to get revenge and kill the hero who killed my mother. From the sound of it, they're dealing with him. The sound on the TV was turned up. The news was on. I'm reporting from the scene now. Not even a few minutes ago, a new hero by the name of Okinakin tried to rescue a kid from a villain. However, the new hero didn't access the situation and an innocent died from his hands. The name of the boy and the woman are unknown at this time. We'll provide more information when it becomes available. That was the report from earlier today about the hero Okinakin who failed to protect a child and sadly injured a poor woman so badly she couldn't be revived. The hero has high hero license expelled and will not continue in his profession. What he will do now is still unknown. He killed someone and all they did was expel his license? Shigaraki asked. He dug his nails into the skin of his neck. Izuku gaped. I'll kill him. Izuku said, shaking. I'll find where he's hiding and kill him. Izuku yelled. What's what I like to hear? Master. Shigaraki greeted. Izuku looked at the screen. It was black with audio only on the screen. Anger and hatred, that's what we need, it's what I like to see. Izuku shivered, the voice in the audio was even more chilling than the one that plagued his mind, but he knew it was the same. This was the man who's spoken to him since CW, who called out for him. A real villain. Who are you? What exactly do you want with me? Izuku asked. I'm a villain, just like the two you see before you and what you will soon become. Why me? Izuku couldn't help but ask. You're worth more than you know, boy, you're very skilled at what you do. At what I do? Yes, you possess something that we acquire. And what's that? Your hero knowledge. My hero knowledge? I've watched you over the years, boy, watching you write notes on pro heroes, absolutely everything from their main moves to your secret book of effective weaknesses. Well, yeah, but your analyzing skills are the most incredible I've seen in my lifetime. I've seen and worked with heroes and villains alike, but nothing like the potential and dedication I see in you. Really? Izuku questioned. No one has ever complimented him like this before. Everyone always called his notes stupid or told him he was a loser for future hero notes when never become a hero. You'd be a wonderful member to our league, join us, Izuku. And that's when Izuku joined the League of Villains. A few weeks had passed and no one has seen or heard from Izuku, but Koga cursed and stomped down the hallway. Where is that damn Deku hiding? Missing person paperwork was filled out for Izuku and his face was everywhere, asking anyone for any information on what happened to the boy. It's been a few weeks since 16-year-old Izuku Midoriya went missing. Last seen at the hospital where his mother passed due to a tragic accident. If you have any informa, Izuku, please call your local police department. But Koga put his phone away. He hated worrying over the damn nerd. Where would he have gone? He's known Deku since they were 4, he knew for sure his dad went missing when Izuku was 5, but Koga seeing the man maybe once and besides his mom, he didn't know of any other family the idiot had in the area. But Koga rubbed the scar on his arm. Where are you, Deku? Izuku panted, he wiped the sweat from his brow as he drew his fists back up. Izuku threw another punch into the punching bag, kicking his leg into the side then his other, his arm smacking into the bag. He panted as he grabbed his water and chugged it. He dried his sweaty hair with a towel before walking out to the bar. Shigaraki was playing video games where Kirojiri was wiping the counter. Izuku slowly sat on a stool and aside the cool air of the bar. Get any sweat on my counter and you'll regret it. Izuku withdrew his hands quickly. Sorry, Kirojiri-kun. May I have another water, please? Izuku asked. So polite, we'll have to break him in. Shigaraki mentioned. About time we have someone with some form of manners around here. Kirojiri spoke, setting a glass of water in front of the green-haired teen. Izuku thanked him and went to before pulling up the news, checking on any news of Okinakin and pulling out his pro hero notes. Though he's lacking. Izuku pouted to himself and went over his notes. Pro hero, Okinakin. Izuku had already scribbled over the word hero. The disgusting man didn't deserve the title. Name, Haruka Komori. Age, 23. Blood type, not applicable for now anyway. Quirk, big fists. His quirk allows him to make his hands grow to almost 50 times their size. It could easily capture a villain or attack in close range. Heroing, started a year after graduating a smaller known hero school. He was one of the top 50 of his class but is not listed with any agencies. Haven't had much debuting, most of his hero work being stopping store robberies and the occasional purse snappers. Is to be believed has not engaged with a real villain. Traits, his quirk isn't really powerful, in most situations. It doesn't allow him to do much besides capturing or creating destruction that could prove efficient in the situation. Known to be arrogant and wants to be a hero, is basically a child wearing a mask and cape, shouting loudly and placing his hands on his hips like a comic book hero, where his design originated from. His smaller crimes solving fueling this belief. Weakness, not applicable. Additional information, killed Inko Midoriya. Izuku mumbled under his breath, the occasional clicking of his pen as he reviewed the information for Okinakin. Thinking of a way to kill him properly. He's doing it again. Mr. Midoriya. Izuku jumped before meeting Kirojiri's warped gaze. You're rambling, it's very rude. Forgive me. You should return to your training.
Izuku put his hero notes away before accepting the water bottle that was placed on the bar before returning to the next level of the building, a 3-bedroom apartment, Izuku's new room where his new training gear was. He was planning on killing a pro after all, he needed to be prepared for anything. Izuku retaped his fists and fingers before cracking them gently before turning to his punching started to punch and kick with all his strength. For weeks, he spent kickboxing with his punch bag, lifting weights, and physically pushing himself to gain as much muscle as he could. Okinakin was strong, his quirk wouldn't effective if Izuku kept his distance, so he strived to run faster, push farther than the day before. He'll push himself until he can kill Okinakin with his own hands.
It's been a few months since Okinakin was seen in public.
No one had heard anything from him, people thought the no longer pro dropped off the face of the earth. Haruka sighed as he burrowed more into his couch. He switched the channel from the news to some game show. The young retired hero was exhausted, he tried to apply for other jobs, but who would hire a hero who killed someone? He had no luck anywhere, he had some money still saved before his profession was taken from him, so he was doing fine, but he still felt awful.
Completely and utterly awful.
He attended the funeral for the woman he killed, a beautiful, vibrant woman who was one of the kindest people anyone could ever meet. Everyone grieved at her loss, neighbor friends were there, she had no family in the area to attend and no one saw her son there. Izuku was still missing. He went missing soon after his mom was pronounced dead at the hospital.
What happened to him, no one knew.
Haruka switched the channel again before he heard footsteps coming up the stairs of his building outside.
Mrs. Shirayuki is back early.
He wondered aloud before his door was kicked in. He jumped to his feet and waited for the dust to clear. A figure stood on his door.
My apologies for the door.
Haruka shuddered, that voice.
Didn't mean to break it down completely as I did.
Haruka watched as Izuku lifted the door and put it back in its spot, testing it by opening and closing it slightly before fully closing the door and locking it.
Haruka went into a distance at the action, his hands tingling. What do you want?
Haruka asked. The teen turned to him. Izuku was dressed classy, in a white dress shirt with a black vest, a red tie with black slacks. His hair pushed back on the right side, showing his forehead, a creepy smile on his a look in his eyes that made Haruka feel sick. The look of a murder. For only a teenager, he screamed deathly vibes, so Haruka kept his guard up.
Why is he here? Where has he been the last few months? The questions died on his tongue. What do I want? Well, isn't it obvious?
He asked. He pressed his fingers together, the black gloved fingers tapping against each other as Izuku entered further into the H. Haruka took a step back.
Izuku noticed and bit his lip to hide his smirk. I'm here to kill you. Kill me.
You killed my mother.
It's fitting that you suffer the same fate. But it was an accident.
I didn't mean to crush her.
I didn't see her. Just because you thought it was an accident automatically makes it okay. I never said that.
You're a disgrace of a hero. You'll pay for what you've done.
Izuku pulled out a knife.
You'll pay. Bakugo sighed as he leaned his chin into his hand, his eyes casting out the window, not bothering to listen to a single word coming from Aizawa's mouth. With Izuku missing, Bakugo was the only one from their middle school to get into UA. Bakugo was thrilled he was the only one, but he still felt conflicted since Izuku wanted this school so bad, but he didn't get the chance.
He excelled during the entrance exams, for both him and Izuku's sake. TCH, fucking nerd. Bakugo cursed under his breath. He ignored the glare from Aizawa. He leaned back in his seat and shoved his hands in his pockets, his fist crumbling the one had posted for Izuku.
He's been missing for months and Bakugo was absolutely furious at.
Did the nerd run away? Was he captured by villains? Did that hero do something? Bakugo didn't know and he was starting to really worry about the twerp, and it just made H more mad.
He cursed when he noticed he was rubbing his scarred arm. I swear, if I ever find that nerd, I'll punch him dead in the fucking face.
I feel much better. Izuku wiped his knife off on Haruka's robe and placed it away.
He pulled out his cell phone to call Kirojiri.
Good evening, Kirojiri-kun. I'm finished here. If you would please open a portal for me to return, I'd appreciate it.
Izuku spoke. There was a firm 1 moment before the call up.
The amneous noise Izuku has come to recognize appeared, and he happily walked through the portal and into the bar with a wide smile on his face. Someone looks happy. Shigaraki spoke. He looked at Izuku from his spot on the couch, his hand mask next to him. And completely covered in blood. I just did the laundry. Kurogiri said, annoyed. I'm sorry, Kurogiri-kun, I was just having so much fun. I couldn't help myself. Izuku smiled, his hero notebook in his hands. He opened the page to Okinakin and smiled at the droplets scattering the page. Blood type, not applicable type, B negative. He scribbled away the not applicable for the happy addition to the notes. I don't want blood all over my bar, go change. Kurogiri said, annoyed. Izuku smiled as he bowed. Yes, Kurogiri-kun. Izuku almost skipped upstairs. I remember when the first body he killed nearly made him hurl. Shigaraki said. Izuku remembered his first kill well. Shigaraki had taken him out on a smaller mission. It was his training as much as Izuku's at the time. Jiren suggested a smaller mission for the boys and Izuku was a little nervous. He wasn't expecting to actually having to kill someone that wasn't Okinakin so early on. Let alone to do it when Shigaraki insisted he wanted to do it. No, Shigaraki, this is Midoriya's kill. If he plans on killing a hero, then he needs to start somewhere. Kurogiri spoke. But he's too much of a weakling to do it. He won't kill this man. Izuku stared at the man. He was in cuffs and begging for his life, pleading for the villains to let him go. Izuku shuddered when the man yelled, please don't kill me, villain. This considered him a villain already? He likes bloodshed, so this should be simple for him. True, Izuku did have a fascination for blood, but actually killing someone was something Izuku thought he'd never do. He didn't think he could stomach murdering an innocent well. As innocent as a man could be for selling young girls to grown men for money and selling other illegal things on the black market. He had enough crimes where death would have been too easy, but Izuku knew this man's life was in his hands. He gulped. Do it, Midoriya. Kill him. No. Don't. Please. Izuku took a deep breath as he shoved the man to the ground. He struggled beneath him. I didn't mean to sell out information on Jiren, I swear. He yelled. A shame this grown-ass man who carried himself with pride could lose all that and become a crying mess in a matter of seconds. His wails were starting to tick Izuku off. I think I've heard enough. Izuku placed a knife to the man's throat and yanked. Blood coating everything, and Izuku was shaking, taking in deep gulps of air as he stared at the man drowning in his own. He balled his hands into fists, the leather of his gloves crumpling, and he could feel the warmth of the blood on his skin and the copper filling his nose, and he couldn't help but smile. The smell of blood. Izuku mumbled to himself as he watched the life drain from the man and the blood continued to pool around them. Izuku brought a bloody finger to mouth and dragged it along his tongue. A positive, interesting. He mumbled. Izuku smiled at the memory and jumped into his shower, almost sadly washing away Okinakin's blood from his body. It felt so good to stab the man. To without mercy cut his bee many times, and the amount of blood that was everywhere, it was such a sight. Izuku wished he brought a camera, but he shuddered at his own thought. I guess Kacchan was right when he called me a freak. That's not the only thing he was right about, of course. Izuku mumbled, biting his lip in thought. Izuku. The boy shuddered when Akuyaku, villain, called out to him. Come to me. Of course. Even after all these years, the man's voice still gave him chills. When Izuku entered the bar, Shigaraki and Kurogiri were nowhere in sight, but the TV was on, the audio on option in capital letters. Yes, Sensei? Izuku asked. Shortly after joining, the man insisted Izuku call him Sensei, and Izuku had no right to defy the man though. He did call him Akuyaku for fun sometimes though. How was your mission? Izuku instantly smiled as the tension left his body. It was wonderful. Interesting to hear, considering you just killed a pro hero. However, he wasn't your first hero kill. He was correct. Izuku was sent on several missions to kill pro heroes when Sensei saw needed. One being a man who was much like Okinakin, very lesser known. Izuku didn't even bothering adding them to his list of heroes. Another, which made Izuku smile, was a hero who was all in it for the money and fame, nothing more, nothing less.
She was a disgrace, parading around and stealing heroes' CRE jobs when it wasn't even her right. She abused her power. She wasn't a hero. She wasn't worthy of the title. Izuku's mind drifted to her page in his notebook, blood splatter also decorating the pages. Her screams were muffled, her arms tied, and Izuku ended it quicker than he wanted, but he couldn't allow her to use her quirk. Izuku was strong, but he couldn't take a giant. MT lady didn't deserve to live. That's my boy. Izuku almost smiled at the praise. Tell me something, Izuku Midoriya. What is it, Sensei? Have you ever wondered why you haven't gotten your quirk? Izuku was surprised by the question. He furrowed his brows. I mean, to be frank, Sensei, I've been asking that question since I was 4. Interesting things. Quirks. Seeing how a man and a woman have a quirk and have a child, it'd be only natural that the child would receive one or a combination of their quirk. Izuku stared at the screen blankly. Well, that's the idea, but it wasn't in your case, right? Ever wondered why that was? Izuku sat there. The doctor said something about a 4th generation and that the x-ray showed Izuku had 2 joints in his toe instead of 3. But that's what the doctor said. He said I couldn't obtain a quirk. There was silence for a moment or two. Izuku grew restless. There's so much you don't understand, Izuku. Izuku blinked, his voice sounded almost sentimental. What do you mean by that, Sensei? Izuku asked. He gripped his pants, his leather gloves crunching. Allow me to tell you what happened. Izuku waited patiently. Impatiently. Izuku Midoriya, the truth is that you did have a quirk. What? But your mother took it away from you. What? Izuku Midoriya, the truth is that you did have a quirk. What? But your mother took it away from you. What? Izuku stared at the screen with confused horror. What do you mean? What the hell are you talking about? Izuku sputtered. There was no way. He couldn't possibly have had a quirk. It was physically impossible. It's impossible. I don't have the bone capacity to have a quirk. The doctor told me so. Izuku yelled. Ah yes, a doctor that you've been going to since birth. Coincidence? What are you saying? Izuku, did you know that there is a medicine in the world that can block the quirk aspects of your body? What? There are special cells that contain the quirk, like cancer cells, if you will. Just like there is a medicine to block and destroy cancer cells, it can be done for queer as well. Why you're saying your mother purchased this quirk destroying medicine and has been giving it to you for years. What? How could you possibly know this? What evidence do you have? I created the medicine, my boy. Gasp, I created it to rid people of who didn't deserve the power or to sell it to someone for a hefty price if they truly wanted it, and believe me, they did. Izuku stared at the screen. He threw his fingers into his green tresses and yanked. And no. You're wrong. Oh. My mother would never do that to me. She loved and supported me. She believed in me when no one else did. No denying that Inko loved you dearly, but it was her love for you that led her to destroy your quirk. She would never do that. She knew how much being a hero meant to me. She wouldn't have done that to me. There was silence for a moment or two. She was afraid. What? She was afraid you'd be injured or worst, killed. She already thought she lost her husband and she wouldn't lose her son to that world either. But she wouldn't. She would, and she did. But the doctor. Funny how a woman could simply ask the doctors to say false information and provide fake documentation and x-rays when asked and given collateral. And no. You're lying. Izuku didn't want to believe him. There was no way his own mother would take away his quirk from him. She knew full well how much being a hero meant to Izuku. It was him, something he'd been dreaming about since he first seen that video of All Might, having the video memorized and quoted word for word. Izuku wanted to be like that, to SA world with a smile on his face. Izuku knew his mother would never rob him of his future and his quirk. She'd never. Izuku was mumbling to himself. he missed the quiet chuckle and wheeze over the TV.
I see you get your rambling from me. Katsuki. Time for dinner. Get your ass down here. Stop yelling, you damn hag. I'll be down in a minute, chill the fuck out. Hurry your slow ass up. Bakugo could hear the mumbling of his father trying to settle down his mom. Bakugo sighed defeatedly as he pushed away his phone and the Lost Wanted poster for Izuku, he worrying over the damn nerd. Truth be told, Bakugo missed the twerp. He was an annoying thorn in his side, but Izuku was always there. He was always by Bakugo's side and missed the boy's bright smile and excited voice whenever a hero was mentioned. Izuku never left Bakugo alone and genuinely liked him when no one else really did. He'd leave, but he depended on it, long as Bakugo had someone who genuinely cared about him and who wasn't afraid. Wow, Kacchan, you're amazing. Bakugo clicked his tongue. He could still hear Izuku's voice in the back of his head and it drove him up the wall. He drew his fingers away from his arm. He was unconsciously or his scar again. That asshole better be alive still because I'll kick his ass. Katsuki. I'm coming, damn it. Shut up. Bakugo stomped down the steps and entered the kitchen. A hot pot brought a delicious scent to the room. Bakugo smirked and sat in his seat. How was class today, son? His father asked with a gentle smile. Aizawa Sensei helped us practice out quirks in enclosed environments. And how did it go? I blew up 2.5 buildings. A new record. Don't support him. Bakugo sighs and ate his food quietly while his parents chit-chatted about their own days. Bakugo hardly listened. Izuku left the room and rushed upstairs and took all his anger, confusion, hurt and anguish out on his punching bag, repeatedly punching, smacking and kicking the sack till it's against the wall. Izuku yelled angrily and slumped to the floor, his back against the bed, and thrusted his fingers into his hair and tugged. She wouldn't. My mom wouldn't do this to me. It's not even a possibility. She would never do that. Akuyaku was wrong, he's lying. Izuku mumbled. Your mother took it away from you. Izuku growled, his mom wouldn't do that to him. Izuku changed into joggers and a dark hoodie and a white mask over his face before going out. Izuku kneeled to the ground, a single lily in his hands. He frowned lightly as he laid the lily on the grave. I'm sorry, Mom. Izuku cried. He couldn't help the hot tears pouring down his face. I couldn't do anything to save you, that wretched hero killing you. But I got him back. You can now rest in peace. Izuku whispered. He sat on the ground and just enjoyed and his mother's presence. I love you, Mom. I wish I had one more chance to tell you. Izuku sat there in the sun for a few hours, not saying anything and simply enjoying the breeze. It was quiet and peaceful for a graveyard, but Izuku didn't mind. He relished in it. After a while, Izuku slowly took a deep breath. Hey Mom, there's this man who's been talking to me for years. He told me something completely crazy. I'm sure you'd be laughing about it, but it's really been freaking me out and I don't know if he's telling the truth or not. He said you gave me some medicine to cancel out my quirk cells. But you'd never do that to me. Right, Mom? Izuku sat in silence for a while longer. He tried to recall his memories, anything from his past that could be him having a quirk. Okay, he remembered his father could breathe fire and his mom could levitate objects. Herself. Izuku tried so hard to remember. Now that I think about it, I remember a time I was so sick that I was in bed for 2 weeks. I remember my throat was super dry and I simply thought it was my sore throat. Be also hot, and when I coughed saw black stuff on my hand. You told me it was mucus, but maybe it was ash? He remembered his mom shushing him, saying it was just nasty mucus from his throat, and quickly wiping away the black from his hand. She was a little shaken for it. I also remember another time. It was Kacchan and I playing in the living room. We were running and I tripped. But I managed to land on a pillow, but it was across the roof on couch. Even Kacchan didn't know how it got there. Could Izuku coughed up ash from his fire breathing? Could Izuku have pulled that pillow towards him with his levitating when he fell? Could he have been beginning to get a quirk before his mother took them away? No, it's ridiculous. Don't think like that, Izuku. Your mom loved you and she supported you. She'd never do something like that to you. Don't you even dare doubt her.
When the sun had begun to set, Izuku slowly rose to his feet and stood facing the grave. The sun setting hit the trees perfectly and a silent presence of peace settled onto him. "Pardon me, young man." Izuku nearly jumped out of his damn red sneakers. He squeaked so loudly before looking away from the stranger. "Oh, forgive me, I didn't mean to startle you," came the stranger's gruffy reply. Izuku heard rustling and dared a glance to the stranger. A scrawny man with blonde hair was down on one knee. He placed a small bouquet of green carnations on the grave, next to the lily Izuku had placed. "Did you know this woman?" the man asked. Izuku nodded. "Why does he seem so familiar? It's like I've met him before." I'm glad. I wish I could've. I've heard many wonderful stories about her." Izuku dared another glance. The man had a solemn look on his sunken face. "Who is this man?" "Completely awful she wasn't saved in time. A sweet soul who passed far too soon." Izuku bit his lip to stop his tears and nodded. "I hope her son is alright." Izuku raised his head a little. "I met the boy once, he looked so lost. I wish I could have helped the poor young man, he's been missing for so long now. I pray he'll turn up soon." Izuku dared to stop and stare at him, his blue eyes focused on the tombstone. Who are you?" Izuku asked. He cursed himself for stuttering, but he tried to make his voice an octave deeper. "My name is Tashinori." Izuku couldn't help but gasp. "Tashinori? As in Tashinori Yagi?" The Tashinori Yagi. All Might was standing right next to him. "But what? See, can I ask you something?" Izuku asked deeply. "Of course, young man." Izuku took a deep breath. "Can someone without a quirk become a hero?" There was silence. Izuku waited for All Might to say something, anything. "In my opinion. Here it is." "No." "What?" Izuku couldn't help but blurt out. All Might jumped. "Logically speaking, someone quirkless couldn't battle someone who had a quirk, correct? It's like fighting someone with one hand when they have two. The person would be at a disadvantage and could end up causing more bad than good. However, perhaps an officer would be good for someone who doesn't have a quirk but wishes to help their commune. Very noble profession, and I admire the officers for what they do. They're just as brave as a hero, however they see what is realistic." "Why do you ha?" Tashinori turned to the side expecting to see the young man there, but he was gone. He hadn't even heard him walk away. "Hopefully I didn't hurt his feelings. Anyways, rest in peace, Mrs. Midoriya. I'll come visit again soon." Tashinori spoke as he bowed to the grave. "I won't stop searching for your son. I won't stop till he's safe and sound." "No," he said, "fucking no." Izuku had shoved his hands in his pockets as he walked down the sidewalk. He kicked a rock and watched it hit a pole. "I should have known, you can't be a hero unless you have a quirk. I tried to tell you All Might wasn't all he was made up to be." "Please shut up, Akukuen." Izuku spoke. Izuku wasn't paying attention and bumped shoulders with someone. "Watch it," he hissed. "The fuck you say to me?" Izuku froze. That voice. "Hey, I'm talking to you, you damn asshole." "Yep, that's him. Come on, Bakugo, let's go." "It was an accident." "Shut up, shitty hair. I'm not leaving till I kick this guy's ass." Izuku looked over his shoulder, his green eyes meeting Bakugo's. The constant scowl on the blonde's face had dropped. A look of shock replaced it before it was replaced with "Are Deku?" Fuck. Izuku turned and began to walk away. Deku. Izuku ran. "Come back here, asshole." Bakugo ran after him, Kirishima on his heels yelling for him to stop. Sparks emanating from his palms, Bakugo was catching up to him quickly. Izuku turned down an alleyway. He dared a glance over his shoulder before turning back and just saw the portal appear. A gasp leaving his lips before he fell through and landed bar floor. Deku. The portal shut. Izuku laid on the ground, his eyes wide as he gasped for breath. "What's your problem?" Shigaraki asked. He was on a bar stool at the bar, Kurogiri wiping glasses clean. "Master asked for a portal to be opened at an alleyway, but I wasn't expecting you to come falling in." Shigaraki spoke. Izuku laid on the floor for a few more minutes before REM mask and using a bar stool to climb up and sit in. A milkshake was set in front of him.
Izuku stared at the drink before looking up at Kurogiri. "Excuse my language, but where the fuck did you get a milkshake from?" Izuku asked. "Stole them from a child."
Shigaraki spoke, placing a spoonful in his mouth.
Izuku stared at the delicious-looking drink. "Works for me," Izuku said, taking a big spoonful.
It's true what they say, food does taste better when it's stolen from children.
Now you're getting it. That's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked the video, make sure to like and comment, well, anything.
As of now, I'm trying to write a story of a possible outcome of Goku other origins sealed inside Naruto. And the series regarding Goku and One Punch Man isn't over, in case anyone was wondering. This wasn't for monetization purposes.
Honestly, I created this video just to celebrate my first anniversary on YouTube.
I'll be gone for even longer because of some political issues regarding the country. I'll try to go to the library or even go to a different state or country to continue my work. I see a future in this line of path. I just wish I could make videos as a full-time job. But finances haven't been too merciful to someone like me. Working from 8 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon hasn't given me much time for me and interest in making videos. As we speak, I'll probably sleep at 12 at midnight again. I'm a fool for thinking I could make 4 projects at the same time with 6 hours of sleep and 4 hours to focus on each series.
Of course, I've said that statement too many times.
After creating the 4th part of Goku and One Punch Man, I decided to rest and wait for 3 to 6 months and come back with a better quality of videos. And yet, a lot of unexpected things happened. I tried to ignore it and continue to work, but my rhythm hasn't been the same.
My motivation wavering. And my sight failing me a bit. I have too many plans to stop in a cliffhanger. I'll see you all in the next video.